your hands together. Put your hands together.
30 minutes after 11, 15th day of February 2024. This is Hope FM. We listen and live. On air is Praise Junction, and it's time now for our devotion. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X at Hope FM Live, right? Today I want us to share very briefly on the topic titled, Your Greatness Cannot Be Buried. Your greatness cannot be buried. And if you feel like probably your greatness was buried, it is a lie from the devil, because whatever you carry is from God. It is not from the enemy. It can never be from the enemy. It is from Jehovah God. All right? Like Shiko always says, team online, kindly mniambie kama mnanipata loud and clear. I want to read from the book of Judges chapter 11. Judges chapter 11 from verse 1 all the way to verse 6. Judges chapter 11 from verse 1 all the way to verse 6. Now Jephthah of Gilead was a great warrior. He was the son of Gilead, but his mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also had several sons, and when these half-brothers grew up, they chased Jephthah off the land. "You will not get any of our father's inheritance," they said, "for you are the son of a prostitute." So Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob. Soon he had a band of worthless rebels following him. At about this time, the Ammonites began their war against Israel. When the Ammonites attacked, the elders of Gilead sent for Jephthah in the land of Tob. The elders said, "Come and be our commander. Help us fight the Ammonites." Like I began by saying that your greatness, thank you so much, Gax and Maureen Joki, your greatness cannot be buried. Let me start by saying Jephthah of Gilead, scripture has already told us what he carried. That Jephthah, another version of scripture will say, was a mighty man of valor. All right? But he was the son of a prostitute. And Gilead, the father now, had, okay, let me paint the picture. Gilead had a wife, but Gilead sinned against God by going and lying with a prostitute, and Jephthah was the offspring of the prostitute. Now, because of how the Jewish live their lives, Gilead had to bring in Jephthah into his family and bring him up. So when they became of age, Jephthah and the brothers now who belong to the wife, the rightful wife of Gilead, the brothers chased him away and said, "You cannot get an inheritance together with us." Then Jephthah fled from his brethren and dwelt in the land of Tob. And this version that I'm reading says he was gathered with vain men who went out with him. And it came to pass in the process of time that the children of Ammon made war against Israel. And it was so that when the children of Ammon made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob. And they said unto him, "Jephthah, come and be our captain, that we may fight with the children of Ammon." Now, I want us to just consider this short story and think about our lives. Number one, Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor, or a great warrior. Each and every one of us has some greatness, some form of greatness, whether it's in business, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in, worship, whether it's in service, whether it's whichever field, there is what God has deposited in your life that you need to showcase to the world. Each and every one of us. So scripture begins by telling us what Jephthah carried, that he was a mighty man of valor. But it goes on now to give us the condition in which Jephthah found himself in, that he was the son of a prostitute, and so he couldn't get an inheritance together with his brothers, the children now of the rightful wife to Gilead. And many of us, we find ourselves in such situations where our greatness seemed to be stifled, or rather buried. Why? Because when this happened and the children now of the rightful wife to Gilead said, "You cannot have an inheritance together with us," they chased him away. Could it be that because you failed in your studies somewhere in high school, somewhere in campus, you feel that your greatness has been buried? Could it be because you went through, some form of molestation, you felt now that I cannot stand again before people and speak, and your greatness was buried? Could it be that when you scored very great grades in high school and you needed now to go to campus, but there was no money, you found yourself in a condition where the school fees was not available, and now because you couldn't go to a good college or a good campus, you felt that my greatness has been buried. I'm here today to remind you that your greatness cannot be buried. Some people started off a business, and because you had partnered with people who never saw the vision that you had, and you have greatness in the area of business. Because it failed, and you failed miserably, you decided that I'll not venture out again into business because I failed. And you thought that, okay, my greatness in the area of business is now buried. I can no longer function in that area which God had called me. You were hurt probably in ministry, and you felt that I cannot venture out in ministry again because, the last time I gave it my all, I was hurt deeply. And you thought that your greatness had been buried. Verse 3 says that Jephthah fled from his brethren and dwelt in the land of Tob. Could it be that as I'm speaking to you, you have fled the place of your ordination? You have left the place where actually God has engraced you to function in. You have left the place of destiny because the conditions that surrounded what you carry were not favorable. I want to remind you again that your greatness, my brother and my sister, cannot be buried. Verse 4 says, it came to pass in the process of time that the children of Ammon made war against Israel. And it was so that when the children of Ammon made war against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to fetch Jephthah out of the land of Tob. And they said unto Jephthah, come and be our captain, that we may fight with the children of Ammon. God is actually sometimes, we can just call it a funny story. Why? Because when Jephthah actually fled from his brethren, no one could have thought that when need arises and when there is trouble, it is only Jephthah that could get them out of that mess. Could it be that where you have run away from is actually the area that you should be functioning in and bringing deliverance and healing to that area? Could it be that some people somewhere are now under the oppression of the enemy because you left your place of destiny? Yes, I understand you left the place of destiny because the conditions surrounding your greatness were not very favorable. But like I began by saying, your greatness cannot be buried, and it is from God. The conditions notwithstanding, whatever you carry is of God. Therefore, it cannot be stifled. It cannot be killed. Why? Because God is the giver of life. Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor. Scripture is very descriptive because it begins by telling us what he carried, who he was, before we can get to the condition. Now, whatever you carry, who you are, as ordained by God, should not really actually cause you to feel like, all right, these conditions are not favorable, so I don't think I can be able to function in whatever God is calling me to do. No, my brother and my sister, I want to encourage you today that whether the conditions are favorable or not, you still remain to be a man or a woman, a mighty man or a mighty woman of valor. You still remain to be a great gentleman or lady. You still remain to be that great business person. You still remain to be that anointed minister. You just have to align yourself with the will of God. You just have to seek God to get a deeper understanding, a greater understanding of why actually you're in that condition. Sometimes these conditions are actually meant to bring out the very best of us. Finally, there are many people who right now are in trouble, are suffering, are looking to God for help, and you are their answer. Why? Scripture has told us when it came to pass in the process of time that Ammon made war against Israel, the Israelites realized, wait, we are suffering here, but there is a man that can lead us into war and will overcome these people. And that is Jephthah, who had fled into Tob. Remember, he fled from his brethren. Why? Because he felt this condition does not favor my greatness. You know, my warrior feeling that I have in me. Could it be that some people somewhere are looking out for you and are saying, this brother, this sister is actually our answer. But you are out there away from the place of destiny, feeling like, I cannot do this. Feeling like, hey, that time that I was told that, for example, you cannot speak before us, you felt like I'll never speak again. But you are a great orator. That time that you are told you cannot sing in front of us, you felt like I'll never sing again. But you are anointed to be a worshiper, a great worshiper. That time when that business actually, failed miserably, you felt like I'll not venture out into business again. But you are the answer to many other business people. I'm here to encourage you today that your greatness cannot be buried. And when they come for you, when that situation demands that it is only this gentleman or this lady that can come through for us, kindly just lay away that, that bitterness, lay away that pain, and decide to go back to your place of destiny. Today I want to announce to many that have left their place of ordination, go back to your place of destiny. Go back to where you should be functioning in. Why? Because you are a mighty man or woman of valor, and your greatness cannot be buried. That is our devotion for today. We go for a quick break. We shall be back continuing with the topic of the day. This is Hope FM, where you listen and live.
Hope FM, another quality service from Christ, is the Answer Ministry.
Hope FM exists to know God and to make Him known through